My name is Julia. I want to tell you a story about a man who lost his son, but found his faith again. It is a story of love, pain, and hope. It is not about one person only. It is about many people and about a land that was broken. There was once a man named Stephen Cumulo. He was an old priest. He lived in a small village far from the city. His house was simple, and the land around it was dry and brown. The people in his village were poor, but they were kind. Stephen was loved by many because he prayed for everyone and helped those in need. Stephen had a wife who worked hard beside him. They had one son named Absalom and one sister named Gertrude. Both of them had gone away to the city. Gertrude left first, saying she wanted to find work. Later, Absalom left too, hoping to build a better life. But time passed, and neither of them came home. Every day, Stephen waited for a letter. He hoped his son would write or that his sister would send news, but no letter ever came. One morning, Stephen's wife brought him an envelope. Her hands were shaking. "It is from the city," she said quietly. Stephen opened it slowly. It was from another priest. The letter said that his sister Gertrude was very sick and that he should come to the city. Stephen felt afraid. He had never traveled so far before. He was an old man now. He looked at his wife unsure. She said, "You must go. She is your sister. Maybe you can find our son, too." So Stephen packed a small bag, took the little money they had saved, kissed his wife goodbye, and left his village. The road to the city was long. He walked for hours and then took a train. When he arrived, everything was different. There were cars, tall buildings, and people everywhere. The air was thick with smoke and the noise hurt his ears. He missed the quiet hills of his home. He asked people for directions, but most were too busy to help. He was just an old man with tired eyes and an old bag. Finally, he found the house of the priest who had written to him. The priest's name was Father Missy Mongo. He was younger than Stephen, kind and gentle. He welcomed him with a smile. "I am happy you came," Missy Mango said. "Your sister is alive, but her life is not good." Stephen felt his heart grow heavy. "What do you mean?" he asked softly. Missy Mongo looked down for a moment and said, "She is not sick in her body. She is sick in her spirit. She lives a bad life. She has lost her way." Stephen closed his eyes and whispered a prayer. Then he said, "Take me to her." They went together through narrow streets, lined with small broken houses. Children played in the dirt. Men sat by the road looking tired. Women carried water or laundry in heavy baskets. Finally, they reached a small room. Inside sat Gertrude. She looked thin, pale, and lost. When she saw her brother, she began to cry. "Brother," she said, "I am sorry." Stephen knelt beside her and held her hands. "Come home," he said gently. "Come back to the village. You can start again." Gertrude nodded and whispered, "I want to." That night, Stephen prayed for her. He was sad but thankful. He had found his sister and she wanted to change her life. The next morning, he told Missy Mango, "Now I must find my son Absalom." Miss Mango nodded. "The city is big," he said, "but I will help you." They began their search. They went to places where young men lived. They visited churches, schools, and even prisons. But Absalom was nowhere to be found. Stephen grew tired, but he did not stop. He wanted to see his son again. Days passed. Everywhere they went, Stephen saw sadness. There were poor people, hungry children, and men without work. Many had come from small villages like his, searching for a better life, but most had found only pain. Stephen's heart broke for them. One afternoon, Mazamangu came with bad news. His face was serious. "Stephen," he said quietly, "there was a crime in the city. A white man was killed. The police are looking for 3 young black men. One of them is named Absalom Cumulo." Stephen froze. His hands began to shake. He could not breathe. "My son," he whispered. Masamu nodded sadly. Stephen closed his eyes. He could not believe what he had heard. His kind, gentle son, a murderer. It felt impossible. That night, Stephen could not sleep. He prayed for hours, asking God for strength and truth. In the morning, they went to the prison. A guard led them to a small room. There, sitting on a wooden bench, was Absalom. He looked older, thinner, and afraid. When he saw his father, he began to cry. "Father," he said softly. "I am sorry." Stephen sat beside him, silent. His eyes were wet and his heart was full of pain. "Tell me," he said after a while. "What happened?" Absalom looked down, his voice shook. "We broke into a house," he said. "I did not want to hurt anyone. But when the man came home, I was scared. I had a gun. I shot him." Stephen felt the world fall apart around him. He held his son's hands tightly. He wanted to say that everything would be all right, but he knew it was not true. Absalom continued. "The man I killed was kind. He helped poor people. I did not know who he was." Stephen bowed his head and whispered, "God forgive us." The guards took Absalom away. He was going to be judged in court. Stephen walked out of the prison slowly, his heart heavy. The sun was shining, but he felt cold. Inside, Missingu walked beside him and spoke softly. "Stephen," he said, "there is something more you should know. The man who was killed was named Arthur Jarvis. His father is a rich man. He lives near your village." Stephen stopped walking. He looked up in shock. He knew that name. Mr. Jarvis was a white man who owned a large farm near his home. Stephen had seen him before, though they had never spoken. Now, their lives were connected by sorrow. That night, Stephen sat alone and thought about his son and about the man who had died. He thought about the fathers who had lost their sons in different ways. He thought about the pain of the city and the broken hearts it created. He wondered why good people suffered and why love was never enough to save them. He wanted to cry, but no tears came. He could only whisper to the quiet, "Night, cry the beloved country for the child who is lost and for the man who has lost his way." And that is how the story of Stephen's sorrow began. Before I continue rest of the story, please subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. The days after Stephen found his son were heavy and long. He stayed in the city to visit Absalom every day. Sometimes he prayed with him. Sometimes they sat in silence holding each other's hands. Absalom was sorry. He said many times that he did not want to kill anyone. He said he was afraid and confused. Stephen believed him, but he also knew that fear did not change what had happened. A man was dead and a family was broken. When Stephen left the prison each day, the city felt darker. The streets were full of people, but everyone seemed alone. He missed his wife. He missed the hills of home. He wanted to go back to his village, but he could not leave yet. He had to stay until his son's trial was over. Father Messi Mangu stayed beside him the whole time. He helped Stephen find a lawyer for Absalom. The lawyer was a kind white man who wanted justice and mercy. He listened carefully to Absalom's story and promised to help. Still, Stephen knew that the truth might not be enough to save his son. One afternoon, Masamangu said, "Stephen, I will take you to see a friend today. He knows Mr. Jarvis, the father of the man who died." Stephen's heart almost stopped. "No," he said quickly, "I cannot face him." Masamangu touched his shoulder. "You do not have to speak," he said gently, "but it is right to understand. Mr. Jarvis has lost a son, too." Stephen said nothing. His voice was gone. That night he could not sleep. He kept thinking about Mr. Jarvis, the father of Arthur, the man Absalom had killed. He thought about how much pain the man must feel. He wondered what he would say if they ever met. A few days later, Stephen and Masamangu went to court. The room was full of people. The judge sat high above them. Absalom stood small and thin in his old coat. He spoke softly when he told the story. Again, he said he was sorry. He said he did not mean to kill. Stephen watched him with tears in his eyes. It was not the strong young man he remembered. This was a frightened boy who had lost his way. The trial went on for many Days. At last the judge spoke the final words. Absalom was found guilty. His punishment was death. Stephen did not move. His hands were cold and his mouth was dry. Absalom began to cry, his whole body shaking. The guards led him away. Stephen wanted to run after him, to hold him, to say goodbye. But he could not move. When the court was empty, Misu helped him stand. Stephen said, God gave me a son and now I will lose him. I do not know how to live after this. Mimingu said softly, you must live with faith, not with fear. After that day, Stephen decided to return home to his village. Gertrude also went with him, and she brought her small son. She wanted a new life away from the city. Father Messi Mango gave Stephen the money he had saved. He said, this is not payment. It is a gift. I will leave the city soon and go to serve others. Please take this and go in peace. Stephen tried to speak, but words would not come. He only held Masamu's hands tightly. When he returned to his village, everything looked the same, but Stephen felt different. The hills were still green. The river still ran quietly. But the air felt heavy with sadness. The people welcomed him home, yet they saw pain in his eyes. Stephen's wife met him at the door. She saw his face and knew he will not come back, will he? She asked softly. Stephen shook his head. No, he said, he will not come back. For many days, Stephen did not speak much. He prayed often and tried to find peace in his heart. He wanted to believe that God would forgive his son. Then one afternoon, a car stopped outside Stephen's small house. A man stepped out. He was tall, dressed neatly, with gray hair and a kind but tired face. Stephen felt a shock. It was Mr. Jarvis. For a moment, Stephen could not move. He stood frozen, his heart beating fast. The man came closer and said quietly, Are you the Reverend Cumulo? Yes, Stephen whispered. I am James Jarvis, the man said. His voice was calm, though his eyes were sad. I have come from the city. I wanted to see the place where my son lived and worked. Stephen felt weak. He wanted to fall to his knees to say sorry, but his voice broke. Sir, your son. My son. Mr. Jarvis raised his hand gently. Please, he said, I know who you are. I know what happened. Stephen's eyes filled with tears. I am ashamed, he said. My heart is full of sorrow. I do not ask you to forgive me, because I cannot forgive myself. Mr. Jarvis looked at him for a long moment. Your son did a terrible thing. He said softly, but mine also fought for what was right. He worked for justice, for people like you, for your village. And because he spoke for the truth, he was killed. I cannot hate you, Reverend. I cannot hate anyone. Stephen looked at the man in silence. Then he covered his face with his hands and began to weep. Mr. Jarvis stood quietly beside him. In that moment, something gentle passed between them, not words, but understanding. Two fathers, both broken, both standing on the same ground of sorrow. After that day, Mr. Jarvis visited the village often. He saw the poor children with no shoes. He saw the broken church roof. He remembered what his son had written in his papers about love, justice, and equality. Slowly, he began to help. He sent builders to repair the church. He sent food and milk for the children. He even sent new seeds and tools for the farms. The people were surprised. Why does he help us? They asked. Stephen said, because he understands now, because he has a kind heart. Every time Stephen saw Mr. Jarvis from a distance, he felt deep respect. He prayed for him every day. One evening, Stephen received a letter from the city. It said that the date for Absalom's death had been decided. Stephen's heart broke again. He walked outside and looked at the hills. The wind was cold and the stars were far away. He felt small and helpless. The next morning, he walked up the mountain near the village. He sat there for hours praying for his son's soul. He prayed also for Mr. Jarvis, for his pain and for his strength. When the sun began to rise, Stephen looked at the sky. It was full of soft gold light. The world looked peaceful for a moment. He closed his eyes and whispered, Rest in peace, my son, and bless this land. Let it heal. As the sun touched the hills, he felt something new inside him, not happiness, but peace. The sorrow was still there, but so was hope. After the sun rose that morning on the mountain, Stephen sat still for a long time. The light touched the hills, and he felt calm for the first time in many months. He knew that far away in the city, his son Absalam's life was ending. He could not stop it, he could not save him, but he prayed that God would take his soul with kindness. The wind blew softly through the trees. Stephen listened to the sound. It was like a voice saying, "Peace." When he walked back down the mountain, the world felt quiet. The people in the village greeted him, but he did not speak much. He went inside his small house and sat beside his wife. She held his hand. No words were needed. She knew. In the days that followed, Stephen tried to live with peace. He took care of the church, helped the poor, and prayed for everyone. He still missed his son, but he also remembered the good things. Absalam's smile, his kindness, the way he once helped a neighbor build a fence. Not everything was lost. Love still remained. One morning, Stephen saw Mr. Jarvis's car coming up the hill. He went outside to meet him. Mr. Jarvis stepped out holding some papers. His face looked tired but gentle. "Good morning, Reverend," he said. "I came to tell you something. I am going away for a time. But before I go, I wanted you to know that I am building a new church here. The plans are ready. It will be for your people." Stephen could not speak. His eyes filled with tears. "You are very kind," he said softly. "Your heart is big, Mr. Jarvis." Mr. Jarvis smiled a little. "It is not kindness," he said. "It is what my son would have wanted. He believed that love could heal this land. Now I believe it too." Stephen bowed his head. "May God bless you," he said. After that day, things began to change. In the village, builders came and started to work on the church. Children ran around watching. With joy, the people began to hope again. Mr. Jarvis sent teachers to the school. He helped fix the water pump. Life, which had been hard and dry, started to feel alive again. But there was still sadness too. Gertrude, Stephen's sister, who had come back from the city, began to feel restless. One night she disappeared, leaving only her small son behind. Stephen searched for her, but she was gone. He did not know where she went. He took her child into his home and decided to raise him as his own. He will not be lost, Stephen told his wife. He will grow with love. As the weeks passed, Stephen's hair turned whiter. His steps grew slower, but his spirit was stronger than ever. He often climbed the hill near his home. From there, he could see the wide valley and the farms below. He could see Mr. Jarvis's big house far away. Sometimes he saw Mr. Jarvis himself, standing outside looking toward the village. When that happened, Stephen lifted his hat in greeting, and the other man raised his hand in return. They did not need to speak. They understood each other. One evening, a young man came to visit Stephen. He said, "Reverend, I bring a message from Mr. Jarvis. He will soon move away from this place. But he asked me to tell you that he will continue to help the people here. He will not forget." Stephen nodded slowly. "Tell him I thank him from my heart," he said. The young man smiled. "He said you taught him something too." Stephen looked surprised. "What could I have taught him?" he asked. The young man replied, "You showed him what forgiveness means." After the man left, Stephen sat alone for a while. He thought about all that had happened. He had lost his son. He had suffered deeply. But from that pain came something beautiful, a bridge between two men who once lived in different worlds. That night, Stephen went for a walk. The stars shone bright above him. The air was cool and gentle. He stopped at the edge of the valley and looked down at the sleeping village. He could hear the sound of the wind in the trees, the soft bark of a dog, the distant song of a night bird. He thought of his son, Absalom. He thought of Gertrude, wherever she was. He thought of Mr. Jarvis, who had turned pain into kindness, and he thought of the land itself. So beautiful, so full of love and sorrow. He spoke softly as if to the earth, "Cry the beloved country." He said, "For the child who is lost, for the people who are afraid, for the hearts that are broken, but let us not cry forever. Let us hope, let us believe that one day this land will be healed." Then he closed his eyes and prayed. "God, give us courage, give us love, give us peace." In that moment, a feeling of calm filled him. It was as if the hills, the sky, and the whole world breathed together with him. He knew the road ahead would not be easy. There would still be sorrow, still injustice, still pain, but there would also be kindness. There would be people who cared, and somewhere deep in his heart, Stephen knew that Absalom had found peace too. He walked back home slowly under the stars. His wife was waiting by the door. She smiled when she saw him. "You were gone a long time," she said. "I was praying," Stephen answered softly. "Did you find peace?" She asked. He nodded. "Yes." He said, "I think I did." They went inside together. The lamp on the table gave a small warm light. The child slept quietly in the next room. Outside, the wind whispered over the hills. The night was calm, and for the first time in a long time, Stephen felt that the world, though full of pain, could still be beautiful. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to English Medium Stories. Stay with us for more classic stories in easy English.